So let's look at the qualifying free zone entity and how the tax rates will be applicable on them or tax will be levied on those operations. Any free zone company to be considered as a qualifying free zone person, they need to comply with these 5 conditions. So what are the free zone persons? Any free zone entity which is registered in any free zones in UAE is generally called as free zone person. So subject to meeting these 5 conditions, they will get the benefit of the specific rates given for the free zone companies. What are the conditions? The primary and important condition is that they need to maintain adequate substance in the state. So which means the free zone company should have enough amount of assets, employees being operating from the free zone. They need to have the management taking decision from a particular free zone. They need to incur the expenses, operating expenses in that free zone to match to the size of the business that they are showing in the free zone. As I mentioned earlier, if a free zone company is claiming 100 million as their turnover in a particular free zone, they need to show that they have enough amount of employees, asset base, operating expenses incurred, and management sitting here to match up to the size of that 100 million business. That's when you are considered as maintaining adequate substance in the state. So this is first condition. Second condition is that that particular free zone company should be deriving qualifying income. So what is qualifying income? This is not being defined by the law. So we are awaiting for that. So any income that you have under that particular free zone, if it is falling in the definition of qualifying income, then you will be considered as qualifying free zone. Therefore, you will get a benefit of 0% tax on your profits. Third point is that you have not elected to be subject to corporate taxes in full. So which means, though you are a free zone company, you have a choice to select yourself to be considered as a normal mainland entity, and you can ask the FTA to levy full tax as we do for mainland entities, though it is a free zone company. So that can be elected on an application made. So to qualify as a qualifying free zone person, so you should not be selecting that option. That is the third point. And fourth point is that you should comply with the arm's length pricing principles, and you should be maintaining the transfer pricing documentation. So we will look at this particular point in our later slides, but this talks about the transaction that you do with your related parties or connected persons. So if you have those transactions and arrangements, so you need to maintain that particular documentation to show that the transactions are dealt at a market rate. You're not trying to manipulate the business transactions by having transactions with related parties in order to reduce or minimize tax. So if you have these arrangements, you have to make sure that you're complying with the documentation requirement for those transactions. So this is the fourth condition. If FTA comes up with any other conditions to be complied with, so that is what is the fifth condition to comply if you have to qualify as a qualifying free zone person. So once you qualify, or once you comply with all these 5 conditions, you will be considered as a qualifying free zone person. Then you will get a benefit of 0% tax. So this we have already seen earlier that corporate tax on qualifying free zones is levied at 0% on their qualifying income. So here when I say qualifying income, it is not the revenue or turnover, but it is the profit that is coming from a specific business. So what is a specific business or activities? That is what FTA or Ministry of Finance has to tell us or clarify or give us a proper further cabinet decision. So once we get that definition of qualifying income, then we can decide what will be subject to a 0% tax, and any other income which is falling under non-qualifying income will be subject to 9%. So the qualifying free zone person's income will be classified into qualifying income and non-qualifying income. Qualifying income will have 0% tax. Non-qualifying income will have 9% tax on them. Yeah, one thing that you need to consider or be careful about is if you have a non-qualifying income. In the case of mainland entities, you have 375,000 limit, like up to a taxable profit up to 375,000 is taxed at 0%. In excess of that is taxed at 9%. Unlike mainland entity, in the case of Freezone, if we have a non-qualifying income, the entire amount or entire profit relating to non-qualifying income will be subject to tax at 9% without considering that 375,000 base. Okay.